Welcome to the show. My guest today is Phoebe Nerdle, the public sector lead at Atlassian. Phoebe, welcome back to the discussion.
Thank you. Great to be here. Nice to see you again, Jason.
Great to have you on. And let me set just a little context for our conversation today. As we've heard many times over the last 9 months or so, the shift to remote work across government has gone probably better than expected. CIOs and other executives have told numerous stories about improving network capacity, logging capabilities in record time. We've heard about the culture change that's happened at agencies where, well, shall I say, some agencies that weren't big fans of telework now are. We've seen broad acceptance of video teleconferencing capabilities. But now, as many agencies are considering permanent telework positions, and one good example is the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Directorate at DHS, they're actually advertising for some positions that are at 100% telework, which is something the agency wouldn't have envisioned even a year or two ago, especially as a law enforcement agency. So, what does this type of change require for agencies to continue to be successful? How can they continue to be successful? What tools, technologies, processes, even culture has to evolve over the next 6 9 months or a year? Well, that's where my guest comes in. Phoebe Nerdle is the public sector lead at Atlassian. Phoebe, let's just start with remote work. It's a popular topic. We talk about it a lot, but I think after almost a year of it, we're seeing some good results. But obviously, not everything's perfect. What has gone well? What hasn't? What have we learned as a community?
Yeah, so obviously every industry is facing the same dilemma right now as we continue to work from home. Given the current environment we're in, it's a necessity. But I think there's both some positives and negatives coming out of it. Specifically for government, I think it's really keyed in on the need for the drive for technology modernization, um, making sure you have the right tooling in place so that your workforce can be effective. Even at Atlassian, we've shifted to remote work 100% across the board. All of our offices are still currently closed as a result of the current pandemic. Having the collaborative tooling and kind of drinking our own Kool-Aid has been a key factor in us being able to maintain operational efficiency. And what we want to do is work with our customers and partner with them to ensure that the lessons we use that we've learned today are also being taken to our customer base in the field, so that they can replicate some of our successes. I think for government agencies specifically, a lot of collaboration is done with pen and paper in meeting rooms. It's a very face-to-face environment. Everyone's in the same building. You know where everyone's office is, and it's a lot of, hey, if we need to collaborate, we're just going to go have a conversation. Taking that online and then being able to track where that conversation is going and what needs to be done is enabling government agencies to move projects forward.
I like the fact you talk about taking some of the successes internally at Atlassian and helping agencies and others learn from that and implement them. Uh, Give me a sense of what a success looks like. I mean, it's always understanding that companies like yourselves, technology companies, you're a different culture. You don't understand it. You have foosball tables. You have, ping pong, beanbag chairs, places to nap. I mean, of course, we're just talking here about probably the movie, The Internship, a little too much. But my point is, it's a different culture than agencies, and now agencies are starting to catch up. So, what's a big lesson or two?
Yeah, I mean, currently I feel like I have a place nap being at home. We'll see. So some of the lessons that we're learning, we are a global organization, just like all government agencies for the most part, minus state and local and provincial governments. Um, uh, we are of a scale where we're 5,000 plus employees today. Obviously, the scale for government agencies is far beyond that. So making sure that there's a level of connectivity, there's a cultural aspect of it. I choose to work for an organization where I genuinely like the people I work with on a day-to-day basis and want those interactions. I think a lot of us make those life decisions. So having, again, tooling that connects us is necessary, especially right now when we feel like our connections are further than an arm's length away. Um, uh, on top of that, having these major changes and launches where your entire workforce is completely dispersed adds an extra level of complexity to how you actually get work done. So Atlassian ourselves have just gone through a major change where we are accelerating our path to cloud across all product lines. And that involved every single employee at Atlassian to be all hands on deck, from customer support organizations to our sales organizations to obviously our product and program organizations, tracking all of those pieces to make sure that our customers were informed and understood what was happening and understood what their path was forward. That was a big challenge. Having tools that are enable us to track where communications are and where the project is real time, having a tool such as Confluence where we can archive and collaborate real time on what needs to be updated, and then having boards like Trello where you can actually see the work being done, and add your colleagues into that conversation, have been critical for us to be able to launch a lot of our projects that we're working on. The same is true for government agencies today.
One thing that's important that you talk about is not just accelerating the path to cloud, which we've been on a path that we feel like for the last 10 years throughout the agencies, but really it's all about productivity. And that's what we've seen during the pandemic when, as people have been moved to remote working, their productivity, I think surveys that we've done internally, the Federal News Network asking our readers, has shown that people feel like they're more productive and feel like their colleagues are more productive. Talk to me a little bit about what you're seeing about work productivity, or when you talk to your federal clients, do they feel more productive within because they're working from home, and are they missing out on certain things?
Um, I think that yes, I think overall government customers are feeling very productive today if they had the right tooling in place. I think there was a little bit of a scramble at the beginning to see, okay, how am I going to make sure that we keep on top of everything? How am I going to make sure everyone understands what needs to be done? And how are we going to do stand ups? And how are we going to do almost town hall type functions to make sure everyone's informed and knows what they need to be doing? Um, if you had collaborative software in place, that was much easier for you to make that migration. I know GSA is one of them. They've been a user of both Atlassian collaborative tools as well as other collaborative tools across the board to make sure that their workforce is both online and highly functioning. If they didn't have that tooling in place, or if even they didn't have laptops in place, it was definitely a challenge at first. Um, uh, Moving to a home office environment for government employees, I think, especially for defense agencies or law enforcement agencies, seemed like an impossibility 18 months ago. And now they're able to do it. And what's really critical is they're able to do it securely. And I think cloud plays a big role in that. I think, again, making sure you have the right secure solutions plays a large role in that. And making sure that you're making those cultural shifts where you can still keep that level of touch with both your direct reports and those you're reporting up to, because we know that, especially in the public sector industry, the reporting structure is critical.
That's probably been one of the biggest surprises that I've seen is the acceptance of the remote working and doing it in a way that is secure. I was on a recent panel, and I was talking to a chief information security officer who mentioned, I made the joke about being the CIO no, or the CI no, and she goes, I want to be the KNOW of the CIO or the CISO world. I want to know what your data is, where it is, how you're going to work, what devices, who you are. When I know these things, then I can kind of figure out security. Is that probably the biggest change? And I've said this before, but the pandemic created that killer app to know those things and then be okay with the fact that we can work in a different way.
Yes, and I think that there's always been a really hard balance to strike between innovation and security, right? A lot of times, newer products are continually changing. They're more agile, making sure that they have the right certifications. I know that that's been a key strategy for Atlassian specifically as we're accelerating our journey to cloud, making sure that we have our FedRAMP roadmap in place, that it is strong, that we know we're going to be able to deliver quality SaaS-based products in a secure manner. And I think that moving to an entirely remote work environment has really melded the two. And for both government agencies and vendors alike, brought to light the need to make sure that you can be innovative, you can be new, but you can still put an emphasis on secure delivery as well. And that's required across multiple different verticals, right? Not just public sector. You're going to see that in the financial industry. You're going to see that in the healthcare industry, which obviously right now is very critical to what the world we're all living in today.
One thing when we talk about remote work is your remote work is different from my remote work, which is different than 1,800 other people's remote work. So walk me through a little bit about how you at Atlassian kind of look at this remote work and how you're supporting agencies in all these different types of remote work.
Sure. So we're working with big agencies, like I mentioned, GSA. We're also working quite a bit on the state level with Secretary of States, especially given the recent need for secure elections or ensuring that communications are going out appropriately to your constituency. We're working with Child Protective Services. We're working a lot with state departments of education, making sure that their teachers have what they need to plan and collaborate across teams. I think you see both a need for project management and program management at both the small team level and the organizational level. Obviously, PMOs are going to be more focused on higher level strategy, but the day-to-day teams that are doing the work and getting the work done, they basically just need to check off projects and make sure that they're successful and be able to look back and see, hey, I need X, Y, and Z in order to improve my next project.
I think the piece that's interesting here is thinking forward and how to continue to improve. And that's something I think we'll talk to in the next segment. But why don't you just give us maybe a little bit of a preview of that next segment before we have to take a quick break, and how are agencies starting to think about improving the way they work? How are they starting to kind of accept, we know cloud and we know, video teleconferencing and stuff like that, but what's the next level down?
So the next level down is being able to track that data and look at it from a retroactive standpoint. Again, it's great to launch a project. It's great that it's successful. You feel good and you almost want to wipe your hands of it. But to be able to look back and say, okay, this tool worked well for me. This tool didn't. I need more collaboration with this organization. What are they using? Do I need to be on that platform? Having that insight after the fact is only going to continue to move agencies forward.
All right. That's a great little bit of a cliffhanger. We'll talk more about data because it always comes back to the data, as we all know. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we can continue our conversation. You're listening to the discussion, Innovation in Government, sponsored by Carahsoft on Federal News Network.